Got a lot of static here. Hey there. A lot of static on my end. Is my voice clear? I don't know why.
I have to like pull mine in and out sometimes.
Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Petteruti here on WPRO with Shannon. Good morning, Shannon. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Good.
You know, we are lucky people. Do you know why?
Why?
Because when we woke up this morning, we were in Rhode Island. How great was that, huh, Nick? I think it's pretty cool. You know, the whole country, if they knew how cool it was to live here, would be here. And, you know, we have on the radio today, one of our guests is going to be one of the reasons why Rhode Island is so cool. And he's going to tell us about it. It's part of what I call the social infrastructure of a region. When you think about what makes economies go, we talk about highways and we talk about tax structure and all these other attributes. One of the most important ingredients, think about Austin and think about Nashville, right? These are two booming towns with a lot of energy, a lot of young people flowing into them. Nick, do you know anybody that's headed down? You're a young guy. Yeah. And what's the buzz happening? What's the draw? Yep. A lot of jobs. And the other element there is fun. These are fun towns. And so one of our guests today, Shan, he is an elixir of fun, and he helps to make Rhode Island go. Part of what I call social infrastructure. If you don't have it, nobody wants to live there. Who wants to live in a place that's boring and dull?
Not me.
No.
Ew.
So, you know, just like we think about all these other elements as being important in the economy, that too. But good news, on the job front, the unemployment rate in Rhode Island went down. That's good news. And today, before we depart, in this most critical hour of radio, you're going to hear about warnings from conventional medicine, a drug for irritable bowel that caused death in some cases that you need to know about, and also a very popular drug for sciatica that proved to be a total failure in its treatment. And we're gonna highlight both. You know, but first we'd like to take a moment and give you our intellectual medicine perspective on healthcare. We are going to. How much time do we have here, Nick? So I got enough time to fix the healthcare system, don't I? Now, you know, Obama couldn't do it, and Trump couldn't do it, but Shannon, you and I are going to do it. What do you think?
Of course.
Okay, so intellectual medicine is a new approach to healthcare that at its core embodies all the elements of advanced science, the best of Western medicine, and the most critical elements of complementary care. The core objective is to live to be 120 years. Now, that may seem fantastical, but at a recent meeting of anti-aging and life extension scientists, and these are not doctors, these are PhD types, the majority of people felt the 120-year lifespan to be plausible and achievable. The questions we need to start asking is, why aren't we getting there? Now, I say this as a prelude to my critique of the healthcare system in the United States. Now, it's not a healthcare system. It's a sick care intervention. Now, as we discuss this, we must first turn our focus to the crisis in the automotive insurance industry, the catastrophe in the homeowner insurance industry, and we know that the government must step in instantly or else. No, there's no crisis in these arenas. These are commodities, correct? They are commodities that we purchase, much like food. Now, food is a commodity, wouldn't you say?
I would think so.
Is food a right? This is where we deviated when we defined health care as a right rather than a commodity. Now, something can be an essential commodity. You cannot live without food. I would dare say that food is more important to you than your health insurance. You cannot live without good shelter. I'd say that's more important than your health insurance. Yet both are treated like free market commodities. Yes, we have a welfare system and a safety net, and we can argue that it needs to be more robust. But the point here is that food is widely available at a great price. In fact, the percentage of the household budget spent on food has gone down over the past 50 years. And that is an example of free market at play. So we don't call upon the government to regulate food prices the way we're calling upon them to regulate health care. Obamacare is in place. The attempt to overturn it has failed. It doesn't matter. These are all shuffling around chairs on the deck of the Titanic. You know, when I graduated medical school, it'll be 30 years this June. Can you believe that?
30 years.
30 years ago. What were you doing 30 years ago, Shan?
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you were in high school. I don't know. Not even.
Not even.
All right. Well, let's move
not
on.
go there.
So 30 years ago, when I graduated medical school, healthcare was in crisis. It will always be so. As long as it remains the purview of the government, we have, in essence, a blended welfare system for healthcare. It should be, in my opinion, more free market based. Now, there are those who feel quite opposite, that it should be completely the arena of government and it should be 100% government dispensed health care. This is the debate and the fork in the road. You will never, folks, you will never have price control and quality as long as the person receiving the service is not responsible for the bill and the one dispensing it is not accountable for the money being dispensed. Let me give you a quick example. Patient comes to see me, he's having a headache. You do a thorough exam and assessment and you render a diagnosis and an opinion. Patient is grateful, takes treatment, perhaps gets better. Another scenario, the patient has unlimited health care access. They want an MRI of their brain now. Why? Because it cost them nothing. $1,000 study, bang, done. I like to say that I become a genius when the money comes out of their pocket. And therein lies the ultimate filter on the system. The best of healthcare systems would have at its core a free market base. How great would it be if you went into your doctor's office and there was a price list out front? How great would it be when you got your blood work done, there's a price list, and you could discuss the price beforehand? Or if you go into the hospital, likewise. Insurance should be there for catastrophic events. When you need to put gas in your car, when you need new tires, you need new brakes on your car, you don't turn to your insurance company and say, you know, if you don't give me brakes, my car might crash and that'll cost you more money. There's a presumed responsibility for maintenance that falls to you. Therefore, you invest in your vehicle. And we think nothing of spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on our car for maintenance. Yet when it comes to our own care, we sometimes neglect it completely. Shouldn't insurance pay for that is the philosophy of some. At Intellectual Medicine, we have brought anti-aging, life extension medicine to the common man. You don't need to be rich to do this type of medicine. And we're going to be talking to one of our clients after the break who's really availed himself of a full range of intellectual medicine, the primary care element, its life extension, detoxification, and when you weave this together, not only do we believe you're going to tilt the balance in your favor for extending life, but you're going to feel better while you're doing it. You know, Shen, some folks will say, man, I don't want to live to be 120. You know, they have this mind's eye picture.
Of course, they see their great-grandparents and, you know, everyone around them who's 90 and can't walk and feeble.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, if you're feeble at 80 and 90, what's it going to look like when you're, 110? Well, people don't like that image. We're redefining what that arc looks like. Our people are stronger, faster, better looking, jump higher, run quicker than the average human.
Yeah.
Well, they are better looking. It's a purely objective opinion. So we're going to be talking after the break. We're going to also be talking about a new evidence about the strong power of vitamin C and its capacity to maintain health and fight infection. And this is coming out of some of the mainstream literature as well. Then we'll answer the age-old question, tea or coffee? Nick, what do you drink in the morning, tea or coffee? You don't drink either. So, okay, well, you're a pretty clean living guy. Well, that goes along with your high intense lifestyle, right? You get that 3 hours of sleep every night, whether or not you need it. How about you, Shan? Tea, coffee?
Oh, coffee.
Yeah.
Tea just seems like a waste. Although we drink it and it tastes good.
It's good.
I
It's
don't
good.
know.
Well, we'll answer the health element of that question later in the show. But I'll be back. This is Dr. Steve Petteruti with Shannon. You are listening to Intellectual Medicine on WPRO. We'll be back in a few minutes, folks.
You know what I would think would be cool to do is put a list of cash prices up.
Yeah.
Like that X-ray is $40. Does anyone know that's all it costs? I think people really think this is going to cost me. God, if I don't have insurance, and who's going to pay for it?
Yeah. They feel vulnerable. You're right, because of common expenses
Right,
that
how
aren't
much
that
is
expensive.
really an MRI?
Yeah.
People knew how much lab work really is.
Yeah.
CBC is what, $5?
You got to know ahead of time, right? And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're looking at those labs, and one of them may be like triple the amount.
But I'm saying they get these bills for $5,000. It's not even remotely
They're
close to what it costs.
it's become funny money. The whole system is just really in a bad way.
I feel like there should be cash price, and your insurance price.
Yeah. Hey Nick, I'm having a tough time picking up the audio. A lot of static in my headset. How about you, Shen?
Mine's fine.
You're fine. It might be my headphone. I don't know.
You have to play with them.
I've been. All right, I fixed it. I found that it's temperamental with regard to my plug-in, and if it's like coming, it's kind of coming and going if I play with it. Yeah, if you have one, I'll try it. Right now, it's good. I have to hold it down.
But I think that would, I don't know, I think that'd be kind of neat. I'm going to call some places.
Get prices.
Yeah. Just say, hey, how much do you know? Want to make informed decisions.
That's a good point.
Give this one a shot.
Thank you.
Yep.
That fixed it. This is a dog,
It's not a dog.
a barking dog.
Starving.
Poor thing. You didn't eat before. Well, there's no food in the house.
No, I
I was
forgot.
looking for those bars you brought home. Chocolate peanut dreams.
Oh, you know what's funny? I took the bag and put it in the closet because I'm in like pack mode, and I was like, I gotta put it away. It's not supposed to be loud. It didn't even occur to me. Put it in the closet.
I'm going to give Eric a free copy of the book for being a guest on the show. My novel. Way to promote the novel. Do you object?
Does Facebook world object?
What, baby?
Does all of Facebook world object? No.
I don't know. I'm the voice. You're the engine. That's
I know you're gonna have to talk about your book again. Oh, we should have brought it. You could have held it up.
Next time.
You could have just held it the whole show.
We hold the whole show. Hey, Nick. Is it Doug Lizette at the bottom, but we're not Seascape, right? Okay. 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 Yes, indeed, folks, that is us. We're leading the revolution in medicine. I'm Dr. Steve Petteruti at Intellectual Medicine. You're listening to WPRO with Dr. Petteruti and Shannon. What do you think, Shannon? You feel like leading a revolution?
I think we are.
Well, we are. You know what, folks? We submitted our paperwork with the state. Rhode Island is now becoming the official birthplace of intellectual medicine. The franchise disclosure documents will allow us the freedom to start to spread this form of medicine to other doctors throughout the region and ultimately throughout the country. There's a huge demand for this type of care. It is way beyond what conventional medicine has degraded into. And, we could, I think, best hear it from somebody who's been served by it. So up next we have Eric. Eric, thanks for being with Stephen Shannon on Intellectual Medicine. Good morning. Well, I'm great. You know what? Part of the reason why I'm great, Eric, because I live in Rhode Island and we have one of the best social infrastructures in the country, I think. I was talking about that earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that portion of the show, but I maintain that part of the drive that runs economies, that draws in business, that draws in talent, is how much fun the location is, where people live. What do you think about that philosophy? Well, you succeed, and we'll be talking about that during the show. But it all starts from our internal sense of energy, Eric. And so often, in medicine, conventionally, we look at health as the absence of disease. You're not dying. You don't have cancer. Therefore, you are well. And that really is kind of shy of the mark. So I thought you might share with our listeners, because you've been with us now, it's taken a look since 2015. How did you first find us, and what sort of things drove you to come to intellectual medicine at the outset? Yep. Yep. You got that 5 minutes of time with your doctor. Whether or not it's almost as if within 5 minutes, they've done studies, Eric, and they found that the average doctor listens to his patient for approximately 18 seconds, makes up their mind what they're going to do in approximately the first 60 seconds, and the rest of the time they're just waiting for you to shut up so they give you a script and get you out the door. Unfortunately. Yeah. Now, yeah, I was going to say, when you started, there must have been a little sense of skepticism. Here you are in this new arena and wondering, God, is this going to really work? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Well, we've got some of the numbers here to share too. And at age 36, the notion of having a hormonal imbalance doesn't often enter the arena, and the ability to diagnose and focus on that is a piece of the puzzle. Back then, you were at 251 pounds with a percent body fat of 32, and now you're clocking in percent at 24 at 218, lean and strong. The changes, we also identified elevated levels of lead. And lead interferes with the function of the pituitary gland and can interfere with hormonal levels. It can also be corrosive to brain health, accelerating dementia and cognitive impairment. It also is one of the escalators of heart disease. So, Eric, even though you may not be targeting this, Shannon and I are targeting for you. That is living to be 120, because we think you're a pretty cool guy, so we think you're worthy of 120 years. So, so it creates that foundation for it as well. And over time you've done some chelation therapy with us as well. And how does that feel when you're doing the chelation? If you could just kind of give a quick summary for our listeners about that. That's a process where we do intravenous high-dose vitamins along with calcium EDTA for the purposes of cleaning out toxic heavy metals, helping to keep arteries open and protect brains. So how's that process going for you? Yep. Yeah, we know we see very high cadmium levels in Rhode Island, which is a carcinogen. It's one of the reasons we feel that Rhode Island leads the nation in per capita cancer. So we're going to continue to fight this good fight, keep you lean, fit, anti-aging. And we also do facial anti-aging, and the whole office just took note of how you're just glowing. It's just exciting to watch. And in your line of work, that's most critical because you are part of the entertainment solution for Rhode Island. Give us a quick synopsis of what your business is about. Yep. Well, Eric, when you have great energy, like you do, you can project that in every aspect of life. And I've had so many people come back and say, boy, this has been an enhancement in my relationships, an enhancement in my business, in my daily routine. When you have more to give, you can give more. And that's coming off you. And the Coliseum is a fantastic resource for Providence and for Rhode Island. And I know that you're very conscientious in your business and provide a great outlet for young Rhode Islanders to go and enjoy themselves in a safe place. Well, it needs to be vibrant, and people have to understand that these young folks are not just an annoyance; they are our future, and they want to be entertained. And I'm advocating that we should not have any closing times in downtown Providence. Shan, what do you think?
I know.
And just leave them open. Let people do what they want, right?
Right.
Why do we have a forced closing time? New York City doesn't have it, right? They don't have any problems. Anyhow. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Eric, I know you're all about safety and fun and good health. It's been great having you on the show. Folks, next up is WPRO News Center with Doug Lizette. Doug, what's happening in the world, buddy?
Humiliating failure for President Donald Trump and GOP leaders in their attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare. There is apparently no new plan to revisit this issue.
I need to figure out how to get the callers so they can hear.
How to get what, baby? The callers. Oh, yeah, I
'Cause
forgot
I
all
can't hear
about
the
it.
callers.
Yeah, I forgot to reiterate what he was saying.
That's what I said. Like you need to.
I thought you meant go faster, like I was
No.
talking too long. This signal meant speed it up.
Because I can't hear.
Yeah. Okay, so the signal will be pointing to your ear. That'll remind me.
Whenever a caller, they can't hear. So.
No, I know, but I forget when I'm in the middle of the call
Gotcha.
that I'm on. Hi, everybody. That I'm on this thing. Your high-tech stuff, whatever that is. So if you do that. So that was Eric. He's a 36-year-old. When he came to see us, he runs the Coliseum nightclub down in downtown Providence. When he came to see us, he was tired, he was sluggish, he was overweight. He just was not himself. As I put it, he lost his fastball. Been to many doctors, had multiple medical assessments, and they all reassured him that he was in good health. Now bear in mind, he doesn't smoke, he exercises, he eats sensibly, and his body fat was up to 32%, and he was in the mud. And what we did was integrate not only hormonal support, but also medical and nutritional change to affect a change in body weight. The mistake too often made is to focus only on hormone and only on testosterone. If you've got excess adiposity, your body will turn testosterone into estrogen. So you need to address both of these at once to get the best outcome. In addition, we were able to identify high levels of lead in his system, which we now have been chelating with intravenous therapies. This combination will protect him from future consequence. Oh, excuse me, I'm being held. 250 Centerville Road in Warwick.
It's a nice ride in South County.
Building E.
Right now they're doing them
That's Building E. E is in Edward.
extra long cheeseburger, original chicken sandwich, and big fish sandwich. You pick any two. It's just $5.
So maybe I should summarize that when we come back on air. Those aspects of it. You know, there's too much about testosterone out there that is so monolithic.
Negative, right? I know. It has been.
WJAR as well. Boy, this guy is really swell. Listen and watch. You'll have a ball. News and talk. Boy, he's got it all. And don't forget at 6, you can get your fix.
Start your day with Rhode Island's Anchorman, Gene Vella Center.
Wow.
Every weekday
That is mom doing poetry?
on News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM WPRO.
There's even more fun at Remington House Inn.
Oh, Remington House. You love Remington House. Commercial for Remington House. You love them.
I do. I like going there.
I know.
So you just don't like it.
I don't.
Lunch is served Friday through Sunday starting at 11:30.
It's just the oldness of it. Some people call that,
It's colonial. It's got a colonial feel.
Yes, yes. Sturbridge Village wasn't like, my favorite place to go.
I like Remington House.
Chefs are dicing and marinating and preparing the day's menu. Waiters are polishing, and bartenders are carving their lemony twists. Fresh stems are being snipped, and sauces are bubbling to tasty perfection. All the while, those with reservations can't wait. And who could blame them? There's only one Capriccio. Capriccio will spoil you for anywhere else.
Raising broccoli.
Black Friday at the Home Depot. Right now, you can save up to 35%
That was comical.
That's comical.
stainless steel fresh
Gluten-free. What do they give you? Gluten-free vegetarian. They give you like a lump of rice and a
White rice
leaf
and
of lettuce.
broccoli.
Black Friday.
That was creative.
That was.
$998. Over $700 in savings. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details. April 12th.
I'm Nick, agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy.
So what do you want to talk about when we come back?
Jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I am partially
do you
sure
got?
the highly rated term
Well, we
life
could do the vitamin C for sepsis, tea or coffee. I did tell folks about the two drugs.
controls 10-year, $500,000.
Shen, what's our email?
That's almost twice the coverage. Less than
Can you hear Shannon? Okay, say it out loud.
Shannon
Shannon
at
at
im-120.com.
im-120.com. Shannon at im-120.com. That's Shannon, SHANNON.
SelectQuote.com. We shop used.
Okay.
Policies select outside of your price can vary depending on your health, patient, company, and other factors. Not available in all states. News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM WPRO presents Intellectual Medicine with Dr. Petteruti. Join Dr. Petteruti as he guides people towards living the 120 lifespan while maintaining youth. He'll apply logic, reason, and scientific evidence to address conditions that drain people of their joy and vitality while protecting people from the harmful aspects of conventional medicine. Now, here's Dr. Steve Petteruti.
We are back. This is Dr. Petteruti talking to the most intellectual audience in all of America. That would be you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm here with Shannon. Yes, folks, living 120 is possible, and we are here to guide you and lead you along that path. You just heard from Eric. When he saw us, he was starting out at age 36 and not thriving, a lot of drag. You know, too often in anti-aging medicine, it becomes analogous to or the equivalent of bioidentical hormone replacement. Now, those of you listening to the show know that we believe at Intellectual Medicine that you must replace your hormones or suffer the consequence, be you man or woman, at some point in your life. For women, the average age where that needs to be considered can be as young as the late 30s, and for men, more often in the 40s and 50s, although the symptoms and the labs drive the decision. Having said that, hormones are only a component of anti-aging. Now, if you simply put testosterone into a male and you don't address adiposity or body fat, the fat cells will convert testosterone into estrogen, neutralizing the benefit. And if you don't put a focus on arterial health, you will deprive that individual of a chance to avoid vascular disease. And if all you do is testosterone, you will shrink the testicles and wither a lot of functionality, sexual function, energy function. This becomes nuanced medicine, and intellectual medicine delivers that detail. In fact, when it comes to heart disease, Shannon, did you know many people feel heart disease is an inevitable consequence of being a human being?
I would think so.
They
That's
did.
just what happens.
What happened? You'll live long enough. Have you ever heard somebody say, well, you've got calcified arteries, but that's normal for your age?
Oh, of course. You're tired. You
Right.
know? Same thing. That's just what happens.
Just what happens. Folks, that is not a consequence of chronologic agings. You should go to your grave with robust energy and open arteries. In fact, this may sound a bit like paradoxical, but you should die in the prime of your life at about 120 years with robust energy, right? It'll be like, hey, where'd Steve go? I mean, he was just here yesterday playing golf. No, man, he died last night. Oh, man, that sucks. But you die at 120, right? They call that the rectangular lifespan, not the, oh, man, thank God he died. The poor thing was suffering so much. That begins right now when we're young. So they did autopsies on some, or studies, not really autopsies, studies on some of the mummies in Egypt, and they found vascular disease. Then it reinforced the notion that arteries harden over time. They recently did a study on an Aboriginal people in the Amazon, and they found that 2/3 of the individuals over 75 years old had zero, nothing, no plaque, clean arteries, 2/3 over 75. Now, these are Homo sapiens just like us, but their arteries are whistle clean. Compare that to the United States, where 85% of us over the age of 40 have some plaque formation in our arteries. That, folks, is an environmental disease. Now, Shannon asked off the air, why? What's the difference? The answer is we're not certain of all of the elements, but there are some variables that seem important. One of them is they have physically active lifestyles. Not intense, but they just walk a lot. The other is they're relatively lean. They don't have morbid obesity. And they control for things like cigarette smoking, etc. But they eat a diet high in plantains and aboriginal fruits and vegetables. So we got a couple choices, folks. You can either A, move to the Amazon, or B, figure out what we can do in real time right here that's going to protect our arteries. It's not enough just exercise. We all saw that sad story of the Biggest Loser trainer who had a heart attack in his 50s, right? Lean, fit, non-smoking with exercise. We know that lead is corrosive to your arteries. We know that there are certain supplements that can maintain elasticity. So this proves that it's an environmental phenomenon and that it can be modified if not reversed. But first you have to know it's there. Look for the calcium in the arteries. Don't just check your cholesterol. That's one of the things that we advocate and recommend that you do. Likewise, look at the elasticity. At Intellectual Medicine, we advocate regular pulse wave velocity measurement so we can tell how old your arteries are, not just how old you think they are. Too often people feel great. They'll say, but I feel great, doc. Yeah, how did the guy feel the moment before the ice cracked? Dry? Healthy? That's what we're looking for. To live 120, you can't die early. Now, we were asking earlier, coffee or tea? So the short answer is that coffee has been shown to be neutral with regard to heart disease. And this is in a number of studies. It's gotten a bit of a bad rap. You ever hear people say, oh, I got to quit coffee. Like, my pressure's high. I got to quit coffee. You really don't, folks. If you enjoy coffee, moderation is about 5 cups per day. And they found in another study that tea drinkers had less heart disease, less calcified plaque. They only had to drink 1 or 2 cups per day. Now, that's great, except for, have you found a green tea that you like?
Oh, no.
I have.
Not
You know,
yet.
the only one I like, Teavana. They have that place up in the Providence Place Mall.
It's good, but it takes forever to make it.
I know. So tea, and you'll see this sometimes in supplements, the capsules that have green tea extract are of unknown merit. Now, there are some liquid supplements that may have some value. Now, does anybody know anybody going to the hospital? We had a patient recently admitted to the hospital. Now, when an intellectual medicine patient goes to the hospital, we have to swing in action to try to save them from being harmed. Now, take note, folks, and this is what you need to do for you or a loved one who goes to the hospital. High dose probiotic every day you are there. High dose. A study found a 50% reduction in a potentially life-threatening infection known as Clostridium difficile. In medicine, we abbreviate it as a C. diff, capital C period diff, D-I-F-F. This is an overgrowth of pathological bacteria. It seems everybody goes to the hospital, Shan, gets high-dose antibiotics.
All the time.
All the time. And they wipe out their gut, and the C. diff overwhelms them, and it can lead to death. 50% reduction with probiotics. So, you know, my patient, I had a diabetic patient recently go to the hospital, and consequently we gave him a supply of high-dose probiotics, said, you got to hide this, because they'll take it from you.
That's right.
You got to hide it.
Can you tell them, what do you consider high dose?
Well, in the hospital, we're going over 100 billion units. One of the problems with probiotic is just that. It's become the new buzzword, right? It's the new darling of the functional medicine set. Now you've got everything with toothpaste with probiotic in it, right? A couple of issues here, folks. One, are those probiotics alive or dead? In one study, 70% of the probiotics on the label were dead. And that's because they are fragile. These are biological entities. They're subject to shipping injury, you know, if it's heat. So many of them have to be refrigerated. The other issue is their shelf life. So when they label a probiotic, that's the amount of probiotic as it leaves the factory. It gets shipped in a truck, maybe sits in a warehouse, maybe gets overheated. You don't know what you're taking. You must be astute to make sure you get high quality sources. The two species, now probiotic could be like saying antibiotic, right? That is a class. And within that class are many different species. The two that keep coming up as having the most merit, Lactobacillus and Bifido. Those two seem to be most efficacious. Now, we advocate in intellectual medicine a probiotic as a daily routine for most people. Most of us eating a Western or semi-Western diet are obliterating our gut of healthy bacteria. And unfortunately, Shan, in medicine, it seems like you go to the doctor, you get an antibiotic as a door prize as you leave. Right? Every sniffle, every cough gets treated with an antibiotic. Now, what do they teach you as you're studying nurse practitioner about upper respiratory infections and bronchitis?
No antibiotics.
No antibiotics, right?
No.
Because?
It's viral. It's not going to help.
Not going to help. Mm-hmm. But what do? You're coughing, you're hacking, you're bringing up colored phlegm. Hey, if I'm bringing up colored phlegm, isn't that a sign?
But it's colored.
But it's
I'm
colored.
blowing my nose and it's colored.
It's colored. Absolutely no relevance, folks. So the reason we're bringing this up is because when you take antibiotics, it can obliterate the gut of healthy bacteria for up to 6 or 12 months. You string that together, and you know what happens? Immunologic weakness, problems with weight gain. You know why they put antibiotics in animal feed? Because it makes them fat. It makes them gain weight. And there's a connection between bacteria in your gut and the health of your brain. So all these things link together. That's why we advocate a regular dose of about 30 billion units. When you go to the hospital, you got to amp it up. Remember, sneak it in there, or else Nurse Ratchet's going to grab it from you. So in the hospital, you're going to drink tea, you're going to take your probiotic, and wouldn't it be great if you get vitamin C in the hospital, Shan?
Oh, can you imagine?
High dose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, awesome. So you can't take antibiotics for that bronchitis, but what can you do? Now, what's the name of the drip we have?
The Shield?
Yeah, no, the
Flu
Shield.
Fighter?
I like the Shield. Shield's awesome.
The Shield is.
So we have developed at Intellectual Medicine in our drip bar high-dose infusions of vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is a well-known supplement. It's known to be an antioxidant. It neutralizes free radicals. Now, that's wonderful for regular use. We do advocate it on a regular basis to help extend lifespan, maintain immune function. Free radicals, and those are molecules that are lacking an electron. Those are the suckers that burn out our brain and can accelerate aging. But there's an interesting thing that happens, Shan, when you take that vitamin C, as you well know, and you deliver it intravenously, it becomes pro-oxidative. It becomes toxic to viruses, toxic to the spirochete that causes Lyme, toxic to bacteria, and most excitingly, perhaps, toxic to most cancer. So you can wash your body with safe, high-dose vitamin C and obliterate those entities. Now, conventional medicine continues to push back against this value to the detriment of patients. A study done in chest, a conventional medicine study, found that sepsis, an overwhelming bacterial infection that kills people in the hospital, almost impossible to treat, this one brave doctor, Dr. Paul Marek, started giving his patients high-dose vitamin C in the hospital, Shan. 150 patients with sepsis. You know how many died? One. One out of 150.
It's amazing. But that study,
Well,
doesn't really count. I mean, no one's really going to look at it.
he said something, and you're right. Unfortunately, this may be dead on arrival. And at the end, he said, Dr. Paul Marek, quote, "Nobody's going to make money," end quote. Why? You can't patent vitamin C. So conventional big pharma will yawn despite the fact lives are being saved. It's going to be hard to make money. Well, we're bringing it to you folks every day. Stay tuned. We've got more important health-saving, life-saving announcements. I'm Dr. Petteruti with Shannon. This is Intellectual Medicine on WPRO. Now it's cold.
Now it's cold. It was hot.
I'd rather be a little cold.
Oh, yeah.
That study was impressive.
I know.
Really? 150 people, one dead?
Right. But, no one wants to do that.
Well, the NIH did fund a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. But here's the thing. While they're futzing around with the study, people are dying.
Right.
They should be doing vitamin C tomorrow.
Right, because there's no harm in it. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you stop the study and say, hey, this
Why
worked.
wouldn't you do an announcement, immediately put it out there? You could do the study while that's happening, and you could always alter the patterns. So let's see, we talked about tea and coffee. We talked about probiotics in the hospital. We talked about the vitamin C. We have to talk about the joints.
Gotta do it.
We talked about the people in the Amazon with the heart disease. Interesting.
So you gotta think, it's not, where the buildings, where the cars, they don't have all of that. It's just,
The average Amazonian walks 7.2 miles per day. And they found that, then there are other cultures that do a lot of walking that don't have that same protective value.
look how many trees. I wonder what plants are there that are different than here, that are, pulling toxins and...
Right, that's a good point. Like, is the air cleaner?
Right.
Is the water cleaner? How much pollutants are they washed in?
I can imagine they have to use Britas to, filter their water.
Good point.
Ferocious Eyes, Southern New England's leader in fashion eyewear, is your home for the most distinctive eyeglasses and sunglasses. Whether you have insurance or not, you'll get the best deal around at Ferocious
Coliseum.
Eyes, Post Road in the Benny's Plaza, East Greenwich. If your child is having a hard time reading their books or iPad, schedule an eye exam with independent doctor of optometry Roland Estrada at Ferocious Eyes. Call 885-2166.
So the Intellectual Medicine Center is open, and people can call there to arrange consultations.
9 o'clock.
I'm sitting here with Tom Marshall, owner of Marshall Building and Remodeling, home of
So,
easy, honest,
you got
top-notch
10 minutes.
siding and windows. Tom, let's talk about that stress-free financing you guys are offering. Well, Matt, as you know, we guarantee the best work in the family.
Write this down.
No hassles.
I need you to come up with the names for Lipoic.
Oh, I don't have to do it like now on the air.
No, just today.
Uh-huh.
CBOF. 5-HTP. Then, I need 2 sentences for our press release on why you wrote The Cancer Machine.
Yep.
Like, when did you start it? What was behind it? But, short.
Protocol called, and our credit card, we must have had the old credit card, the one that we canceled, because they couldn't process an order. Protocol for Life, it's one of the companies that we purchased those products from.
Oh, so
And they
call it
called me
Office?
on my cell phone for some reason.
It's weird.
Yeah, so we will need to get back to them probably Monday.
Or manual labor. What if I said you could work part-time from the comfort of your home? Sound unflippin' believable? Hi, I'm Preston Ely, and I'm going to prove it by sending you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It sells online for $19.95, but I'm giving away free copies this week. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-400-6416. I used to be so broke. I had my electricity shut off 9 times, but I figured out a simple way to make money flipping houses without even
Yeah,
breaking
so funny.
sweat.
Had a guy, interesting guy,
And so should you.
58-year-old came in, he's got early Parkinsonism at 58, so he's getting chelation, try to help him. He's done a lot of research. Interesting dude. He had some career, retired, he's got a small pension. He just hikes Appalachian Trail through, up and down, lean, fit, lives in his car. He's
No
gonna
way.
he's gonna get a little. Here we go.
He's gonna buy a tiny house.
Presents the spring cleaning giveaway. WPRO wants to help you clean your home both inside and out. Go to 630wpro.com and tell us what your spring cleaning project is and qualify to win weekly prizes. This week, win a $200 gift certificate from Greenworks Lawn Service. Greenworks Lawn Service. Call today for a free, no obligation estimate and lawn analysis at 41521.
Right, there's.
Spring cleaning from Express Sweeping.
George Michaels.
All right, thanks, Nick. I'm Dr. Petteruti. We are back. We're just talking off air. You know, the Coliseum, Eric, our guest today, is a part owner of the Coliseum in Providence. It's a nightclub in Providence. You want to go to the Coliseum, Shan?
I don't know what the age is there. I think he might be a little out of our league, right?
No, come on, Nick. You can get away with that. I was talking to Eric. He said they've got a wide range of age groups there.
Yeah, maybe for a study we go there and watch. But,
Like a anthropologic study.
Exactly.
We need Nick. We'll take note that Eric will get a signed copy of my new book, The Cancer Machine, my fiction novel that is available now on Amazon, right?
Yeah, 53 minutes, I'm surprised, into the show. First time you mentioned it.
I know. You know, I keep forgetting that I am a triple M. You know what a triple M is, right? I'm an M cubed.
No, I don't.
It is a multimedia mogul.
Oh, my God.
We are. Yeah, I'm working on that ego thing. It's my self-esteem is really dampened. But no, we are happy to be on air with you, sharing this information. And folks, I wrote this novel. Its origin started when before I went to medical school. I wrote the first sentence, and I conceived of a notion: what if a brilliant young medical student actually discovered a cure for cancer? Would the world embrace it? What would happen? And that premise drove the book. And the book is called The Cancer Machine. It's a fiction novel with its its premise firmly based in reality. A page-turning read. You can get it on your Kindle. It'll be out in paperback soon. And when it's out in paperback, we will be doing book signings, will we not?
Of course.
And you
can turn that away.
you can come to me with your medical questions, all that cool stuff. But hey, I promised you we would protect you from the harms of conventional medicine, and that's what we're going to do. So those of you suffering with irritable bowel, listen up. Those of you suffering with sciatica, pay attention. In a study, excellent study, was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, demonstrated that the popular drug Lyrica had no benefit with regard to nerve pain from sciatica. Now, that's an important detail because the drug is heavily promoted. I gotta tell you, Shan, when's the last time you saw somebody come in and say, wow, I had horrible pain, I took Lyrica, now I'm better?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't
Never.
happen.
No.
It's an agent that causes fatigue and weight gain, dry mouth. I just, and I don't know, I can say that on air, right? This is my opinion, based upon my medical observations, that this is a drug that is over-promoted, overhyped, and that there's more profit than substance. There are so many better ways to treat pain, and nerve pain in particular. We talk about the pro-inflammatory state of the body. It needs to be neutralized. And that, folks, is complicated and integrated work. And you heard from Eric, that vitality he has, it's more than just hormone. There's a reduction of free radical assault. And everybody that is suffering pain is underwater in free radical assault. So that's a drug. If that's what you're on, and if it's solving your problem, then kudos, and I'm happy for you. But if it's not quite hitting the bell, there's a better path. Another one, and this is important, Viberzi is a drug promoted for treating irritable bowel. You know what irritable bowel is, Shan?
We have no idea what's wrong with you. So.
Thank you. That's right.
That's your label.
Irritable bowel is a label they put on you when your gut bugs you, you have cramps and diarrhea, and they don't know why. You got to give it a name. You know why you have to give it a name, Shan?
Why?
Because you can't get paid if you don't have a name for it.
You got to diagnose something. You need a code.
You need a code. You have irritable bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome. Oh, thank you, doctor, for that diagnosis. You know what that means? Your gut hurts and we don't know why. You got to get beneath it. The gut is central to your immune system, your neurological health, and very complicated, very nuanced. You know what we have found? An inordinate number of people suffering with gut issues have subclinical low thyroid. You will test the thyroid, it will come back normal in the blood test, but their symptoms will evaporate when their thyroid is properly balanced. And another cohort will end up with leaky gut syndromes, inflammation, and when you reduce the free radical load, their gut magically gets better. So Viberza correlated with pancreatitis and inflammation of the pancreas and early death in some people. And lastly, we have to mention this, you should not get your joint replaced unless you come see us. A study done found that the median time span from a joint replacement until a revision, 4.4 years. In men in their 50s who had knees replaced, there's a greater than 35% probability you will need to have it redone while you're alive. Now, that probability is grossly underestimated because you're going to live longer than they think. The moral of this story is come see us first. It's complicated, but there are ways to protect your joint. You don't have to cut out perfectly good biological material that's capable of healing itself. I've heard this before, Shan, right? You have bone-on-bone arthritis. That sounds ominous, right? It's like end of the line. You have 6 months to live. You have bone on bone. You know when I first heard that phrase, Shan?
Were you like 20?
Yes. They uttered it to me then. And here I am about to be 58 and enjoying a high quality of life with a knee that is, well, it's kind of scary to look at, but it doesn't feel so bad. You ever notice why I never wear shorts?
Well, yeah, I kind of know now.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. Anyhow, bone on bone can be cured. There are ways to treat it. Folks, stay tuned every week. We are Intellectual Medicine. This is WPRO. We are the voice of Southern New England. Who's coming up next, Shan?
Big Blue Bug.
Tony DeJesus, our
Right.
friend. Big Blue Bug Solutions. So stay tuned to the most intellectual radio station in all of America. This is WPRO. Thanks to Nick behind the glass. We will be seeing you next week at Intellectual Medicine.